3131. What is the specific fuel requirement for flight under VFR during daylight hours in an airplane? A. Enough to complete the flight at normal cruising speed with adverse wind conditions. B. Enough to fly to the first point of intended landing and to fly after that for 30 minutes at normal cruising speed. C. Enough to fly to the first point of intended landing and to fly after that for 45 minutes at normal cruising speed. The correct answer is B. For VFR, visual flight rules, flights during daylight hours in an airplane. The specific fuel requirement is that the pilot must have enough fuel to fly to the first point of intended landing and then continue flying for an additional 30 minutes at normal cruising speed. This requirement ensures that there is a sufficient fuel reserve in case of unexpected delays or diversions during the flight. Option A. Enough to complete the flight at normal cruising speed with adverse wind conditions is incorrect because it does not account for the additional 30 minutes of fuel reserve required for VFR flights during daylight hours. Option C. Enough to fly to the first point of intended landing and to fly after that for 45 minutes at normal cruising speed is incorrect because the correct requirement for VFR flights during daylight hours is 30 minutes of fuel reserve, not 45 minutes. 3133. No person may begin a flight in a rotorcraft under VFR unless there is enough fuel to fly to the first point of intended landing and, assuming normal cruising speed, to fly thereafter for at least A. 20 minutes, B. 30 minutes, C. 1 hour. The correct answer is A. According to regulations, no person may begin a flight in a rotorcraft, helicopter, under VFR, visual flight rules, unless there is enough fuel on board to fly to the first point of intended landing and, assuming normal cruising speed, to fly for at least an additional 20 minutes. This requirement ensures that the helicopter has an adequate fuel reserve to account for any unforeseen circumstances, such as unexpected delays, diversions, or extended flight durations. It provides a margin of safety and allows the pilot to safely reach an alternate landing site or continue flying for a reasonable duration after reaching the intended destination. Pilots must carefully plan their fuel requirements and ensure they have enough fuel on board to comply with this regulation to prioritize the safety of the flight. 2033. How should an aircraft pre-flight inspection be accomplished for the first flight of the day? A. Quick walk around with a check of gas and oil. B. Any sequence as determined by the pilot in command. C. Thorough and systematic means recommended by the manufacturer. The correct answer is C. When conducting a pre-flight inspection for the first flight of the day, it is important to follow a thorough and systematic process as recommended by the manufacturer of the aircraft. The manufacturer provides specific guidelines and checklists that outline the inspection points and procedures to ensure the aircraft is in a safe and airworthy condition. The pre-flight inspection should cover various aspects of the aircraft, including but not limited to the exterior and interior, control surfaces, landing gear, fuel system, engine, propeller, electrical system, instruments, and avionics. It involves visually inspecting and checking the condition of various components, ensuring the proper functioning of systems, and verifying the presence and adequacy of required fluids, such as fuel and oil. By following the manufacturer's recommended procedures, pilots can ensure that all necessary areas and items are inspected, reducing the risk of overlooking critical issues that could affect the safety of the flight. It promotes a standardized approach to pre-flight inspections and helps maintain the airworthiness of the aircraft. 3083. Flight crew members are required to keep their safety belts and shoulder harnesses fastened during A. Takeoffs and landings. B. All flight conditions. C. Flight in turbulent air. The correct answer is A. Flight crew members are required to keep their safety belts and shoulder harnesses fastened during takeoffs and landings. This is a standard safety practice to ensure the protection of the flight crew in the event of any sudden maneuvers, turbulence, or an unexpected event during these critical phases of flight. During takeoff and landing, the aircraft is in a phase of flight where the risk of accidents or sudden changes in flight conditions is generally higher. By keeping their safety belts and shoulder harnesses fastened, flight crew members are better protected against potential injuries caused by sudden deceleration, impact, or turbulence. While it is important for flight crew members to exercise good judgment and maintain their safety restraints throughout the entire flight, regulations specifically require them to have their safety belts and shoulder harnesses fastened during takeoffs and landings to ensure maximum safety during these critical flight phase. 3084, which best describes the flight conditions under which flight crew members are specifically required to keep their safety belts and shoulder harnesses fastened. A. Safety belts during takeoff and landing, shoulder harnesses during takeoff and landing. B. Safety belts during takeoff and landing, shoulder harnesses during takeoff and landing and while en route. C. Safety belts during takeoff and landing and while en route, shoulder harnesses during takeoff and landing. The correct answer is C. Flight crew members are required to keep their safety belts fastened during takeoff and landing, as well as while en route. This means that safety belts must be secured whenever the aircraft is in motion, including during taxi, takeoff, landing, and during all phases of flight. In addition to safety belts, flight crew members are specifically required to keep their shoulder harnesses fastened during takeoff and landing. The shoulder harnesses provide an additional level of restraint and protection for the upper body in the event of a sudden deceleration or impact during these critical phases of flight. While en route, flight crew members are generally required to keep their safety belts fastened for their own safety and in compliance with regulations. However, the specific requirement for shoulder harnesses may vary depending on the aircraft type and regulatory authority. It is important for flight crew members to adhere to these requirements to ensure maximum safety during all phases of flight.